How exciting. Oh, I think I did it again. It used to give a countdown. So now we're, however many of these we've done, I'm that many and at botching the intros. So anyway, welcome back to the Desipio Cubs podcast. I'm Andy.
And I'm Kyle, some idiot on Twitter that started tweeting at Andy solid 10 years ago, and now here we are.
And very excited because Mike is actually here with, no, that's not Mike. That's a sleeping schnauzer. So here, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. Mike's not on the podcast tonight because he's actually in Texas, so he can go to the opening series. Wouldn't you think that being actually at the place where baseball is going to open would make it more likely that you could do a podcast about the team? Apparently not. So he has not been fired yet. He'll be back. And if you get a chance, go see him at whatever that name of his improv theater is, which I probably should remember, but I don't. So anyway, this is the master plan. We're going to do more of these this year. It'd be hard to do less than we did last year. We did one. Did the very exciting Game 163 preview, and then we were going to do previews for every series after that. And
that went swimmingly.
Yeah, we decided not to do one for the wild card game, and then that didn't really work out. But it's a new season. Things are going to be much better this year.
Much better.
And if they get a hit in the second half, that'll pretty much top that. So I think what we'll do is we'll kind of run through what we think is going to happen in the season, because you can always take my predictions to the bank, and I'm sure Kyle's too. And then we'll just see what else comes up. I guess the big news over the weekend was that the Cubs demoted Ian Happ. Well, I don't know. Was that the big news, or was the big news that they DFA'd Brian Dunsing?
Ooh, I was actually going to put the 20-ounce beers up there, but I guess that was today's news. So,
is it? I don't know the news of the 20-ounce beers.
Yeah, oh yeah, with the new they unveiled a whole new food selection, whole bunch of stuff, bunch of craft beers, and apparently 20-ounce beers are on the menu this year. So we'll see if they can get $30 a pop for those.
I was going to say, so $40 beers now. That'll be great. I thought you were going to say that the players are no longer allowed to chug 20-ounce beer during games like they apparently used to.
Yeah, now we got both ends of the spectrum. We got more beers in the stands and less in the clubhouse. So the offense is fixed is how I'm taking that.
So now I was both impressed and kind of horrified by the article that Sahadev and Mooney wrote on The Athletic over the weekend about all the ways the Cubs are going to change. They didn't spend any money. They didn't get any talent, because I don't think you can consider Daniel Descalso talent. But they're going to fix all their problems internally by circling games that they think are trap games, and they've identified 10 of them, and they want to go 10-0. Not letting the players drink as much beer after games, not as much fast food on the planes. And I'm disappointed, because I thought this was the kind of shit that Theo and Jed wouldn't obsess about. The stuff that really doesn't seem to matter that much. But I guess when you flame out of a season that looked like it was going to be really good for a long time, you grasp at anything. But I've always felt like the fact that they don't grind too much. Typically, I always thought that was an asset. I guess we'll find out if they really, and I don't know if they really can change, or if they just say they're gonna.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the piece that you're referring to, the Athletic piece, which, by the way, block aside about 2.5 hours if you want to get through that one. Definitely do, by the way. It's unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, is Joe really gonna change that much? Like, what's ultimately gonna be that? Are they going to come out for the national anthem and all stand on the left field foul line every single night, or they're taking mandatory BP 4 times a week now? So,
yeah, I guess I don't know what to think about it. I mean, I think about it both ways. I think we think of them as a veteran team, but they really only have a few real veterans left. And so maybe the young guys need more structure than they thought they did. It's kind of like, as you know, they gave them the freedom to do it their way. It didn't work. So now here's a bunch of rules, and you guys can follow the rules this year. I don't know. We're not in the clubhouse. We don't know. I never got the feeling that they failed last year because they didn't try hard enough or they didn't work hard enough. I kind of felt like they just didn't hit.
Exactly.
And I don't know that you can try to hit. You could try harder to hit.
That seems a little counterintuitive sometimes as well.
But I didn't go to Harvard.
Yeah.
I didn't build 2 World Series champions, and so I guess Theo certainly deserves the benefit of the doubt. But
I think he might have earned that a little bit.
I think the most irritating thing about it was the rest of the local media could run with they're trying to Joe Madden proof the team.
Oh yeah.
It's like, all right, if you want to Joe Madden proof the team, then you could have fired Joe,
the damn manager,
and you could have had somebody else. I think they kept Joe for a reason. There is the big thing about why is he managing on the last year of his contract? But I've never been a big believer that you automatically have to give a coach or a manager a longer contract. You can't manage on the last one because the guys won't listen to him. It's like, well, I don't know how that's a thing. Joe doesn't seem to be worried about it, but Joe doesn't really seem to be worried about anything as long as the big Benny's checks keep cashing. And they give him a place where he can plug the septic in, or he can plug his camper into the septic behind Wrigley, which I assume is probably just goes into one of the troughs directly. He seems pretty cool, pretty happy. So
I think this might have been the first off season where I didn't see any sort of article about the cross country RV trip. Maybe I just missed it. I don't know, but maybe it's the evolution of the Joe Madden news cycle.
Wait for the first Sunday night baseball game.
Oh yeah,
A-Rod will be sniffing closed jars of salsa in the back of the Cousin Eddie. Jessica Mendoza will be sitting in the riding shotgun. So if you look at the Central Division, you can make a case that everybody improved. The 2 teams that probably improved the least, ironically, are the Cubs and the Brewers.
Absolutely.
And you could make the argument that, well, they both won a shitload of games last year and they didn't need to improve that much. I am not a big believer, though, that it's a 5-team race.
No, I thought I saw on Twitter, I thought Brett Taylor said the Cubs got bumped up to 80 wins on Pacoda.
Oh, good.
I got it here, and it's still 79 and 82. So, or 80. That doesn't make sense. And 1 tie, apparently. 79, 82, and 1.
Have we checked it since they got rid of Dunthing? It's probably 96.
Yeah, probably went up about 20.
It's like, oh, really? He's not around? So, but I'm just, the Pirates to me are still just not that good.
No.
And neither are the Reds. So
the Reds hype is probably the strangest to me. I still don't understand how 37-year-old Matt Kemp is supposed to be some sort of difference maker, and now no Scooter for however long.
Yeah. Scooter no-marred himself.
He did no-mar himself.
Left his groin found his groin in his sock. That's not a good thing. But they got Sonny Gray.
Well, they do have Sonny Gray, and Alex.
It seems like the worst possible ballpark for Sonny Gray.
My God.
It's like, okay, we got rid of Homer Bailey. Who could we get? Where are we going to give up another 50 home runs? Well, let's get Sonny Gray. He's throwing 88 these days. It'll be perfect.
God, you could knock the Quintana trade all you want, but they dodged a bullet with him instead of Sonny. Not that it was like necessarily 1-for-1, but at the time, like those were the 2. So, oh God.
Yeah, I'm already dreading the Eloy hype.
Eloy, yeah. Yeah.
But it would be just like the White Sox to give a guy a huge contract before he's done anything, and then he doesn't do anything.
Yep.
He does seem pretty damn good, though. But the by far the thing I'm most excited about with the Reds is the trio, a match made in heaven of Yasiel Puig and the Brennemans. I can't imagine how much they're going to lose their shit every time he does his Yasiel Puig things.
That's going to be
It'll
beautiful.
probably be cool with him kissing the bat. That'll be fine. But at some point, he's going to hit a rocket to left field. He's going to stand at home plate, and he's going to barely make it to first when the ball hits the wall. And Marty's going to have to give him, a talking to. I can't wait for that. And it's Marty's last year, so he can go out.
Yeah.
Bang.
Yep.
Good old Franchester. That is by far the greatest. I thought when I found out that Paul Bacco's real first name was Gabor. I thought that was going to be the greatest thing ever until I found out that Marty Brenneman's first name is Franchester.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't even. What is that? That's two names. Was that maybe his mom and dad were Fran and Chester, and they just put them together and gave him his sense. So I had a lot of fun over the weekend. I've got to learn to just not do this. When Paul Goldschmidt, when they announced that, Ken Rosenthal broke the news that Paul Goldschmidt was going to sign an extension with the Cardinals. And then I tweeted out, boy, that seems like an awful lot of money for the third best first baseman in the National League Central. And you'll be shocked to know that Cardinal Twitter doesn't have much of a sense of humor.
I never would have guessed.
And I really felt bad because I didn't mind that they were saying nasty things to me, but they were replying to my tweet, and Ken Rosenthal was getting all of the tweets. Now, I'm sure over the years he's learned how to mute a conversation, but I did feel a little guilty that I was fucking up his Twitter feed because
he'll be okay.
I wanted to be funny. I did manage to sneak a Randall Grichuk reference, though, into
I did see that. I saw that.
My athletic column today.
That was very
glad
nice
to see that stayed in there.
Yep.
But that could happen. Surprisingly, he's had a horrible spring because he's a horrible player.
He sucks at baseball.
And the only reason I thought of him was because when I was talking about, the Cubs are scrambling around to try to make a couple of waiver pickups over the next couple of days. I don't know if they actually will or not, but two waiver pickups in recent history come to mind that were really good that they did the last week of spring training. And one was Reed Johnson in 2008 and from the Blue Jays. And then Luis Valbuena, the late, great Luis Valbuena, in 2012. And so I immediately thought, who do the Blue Jays have that they could dump that the Cubs could pick up? And, Hap goes down, Randall Grichuk comes in.
Naturally.
And then I looked it up, and he's struck out over 500 times in his career, and he's walked 100 times.
It seems a little bad.
Just atrocious. But remember when Cardinal fans insisted that he really was the Rookie of the Year in 2015.
Oh, he got snubbed.
Not Chris Bryant.
Nope.
He got screwed. Jesus Christ. So I don't quite know what to make of our friends to the north. It's just the weirdest roster ever.
It is. And
like they decide, okay, Travis Shaw is too fat to play second base. That was ridiculous. We should have never tried to play Travis Shaw at second base. We're going to move him back to third. Hey, let's play Mike Moustakas at second base. It's like, that's the same thing.
I don't understand. I have somewhat of a unique perspective, being obviously from Wisconsin. Right. So my Twitter feed is pretty well split. So I see both sides of it. And I guess first thing, the one thing Cubs fans and Brewers fans have in common is that they incessantly bitch about everything the Cubs do. For one. And I was shocked I guess I shouldn't have been in hindsight. I thought that maybe like winning 163 and taking a division, all that good stuff, I thought that would like tone down the inferiority complex, but it certainly didn't, at least from everything I've seen. So Twitter will be fun that first series in Milwaukee in 2 weeks.
Do you think, will they save the raising of the do the Cubs, do they open the home season with the Cubs?
I think they have a series before, but I'm sure they'll do the banner at all 3 games of the Cubs series.
Because I think they open in St. Louis, I think. So then I think when the Cubs go to Milwaukee, I think that, it doesn't matter. But even if it's not opening day, will they save the raising of the NLCS runner-up banner that they're inevitably going to hang on the wall up there? Yep. Will they save that for the Cubs just so the Cubs can stand there and go, oh, that's adorable? Yep. One thing I didn't realize, I heard somebody just kind of threw it out talking about and I tweeted something like this, but so the White Sox have been around for 131 years, and they've made the playoffs. I already knew they had never made the playoffs in back-to-back years, which is kind of crazy.
That's crazy.
They've made it 10 times. In 130 wins, the Cubs have made it 27 times. The Cubs, the losers, this awful joke of a franchise, has made it almost 3 times as many times as the White Sox.
I most certainly would not have guessed that.
The Brewers, let's just say it's not a long, rich history of postseason excellence up there.
I want to say 5 appearances.
I guess it depends if they count. What was the year where they? This is great podcasting.
Yeah.
You don't look the stuff up before.
No, why would we?
But didn't they have a year where they had to win, like they played like a quick 2 out of 3 series? It might have been, I don't know, I think it was 8, maybe it was 81 with the strike. But there's one year there where they had a sneaky playoff appearance where they were there for like 5 minutes. But then they've been to the World Series once, and they've been to the NLCS twice.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Yep.
And I should know I'm a former Brewers season ticket holder. 2001, 2002.
Well, you're lucky you got him when you did. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to buy him nowadays with your Illinois zip code.
That's right. I wonder if they would, if I wanted to buy, do they block you from buying season tickets or only to buy single game tickets?
I'm not sure.
I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
So, but back to the Brewers. The other thing I don't understand is the starting rotation.
No.
It wasn't good last year. They pretty much leaned completely on the bullpen. Now they do have Corbin Burnson or Burns. It looks like he might be pretty good. And then what's the other kid? Woodruff. God, I sound like my dad. What's that kid's name? But I really thought, crazy me, I really thought that they would take the offseason and they would take their best pitcher and they would finally make a starter out of Josh Hader because, is he just going to be a light the balls out reliever until he finally catches Tommy John disease, and then when he does the rehab, then they'll turn him into a starter?
I guess that's the plan. He really only is fastball slider, and obviously he was super valuable for them last year, but that's the thing with that entire roster. It's like, that was probably the most frustrating part last year is how all of us are sitting here like, how the hell is this going to work? And their response was, oh, it'll just work. And then it fucking worked.
Yeah. I do think that everything had to go right for them to win that many games. And maybe you won't have to win as many games to win the NL Central this year. And so they don't have to win 96 to win it this year. But I can't imagine that they can duplicate that again. They would need, Christian Yelich to basically not make an out for the last 2 months of the season again. Mm-hmm. And I just look around that roster and, their big additions where they brought Moustakas back and he's okay. Fine. And they signed Yasmani Grandal,
I think that's a very nice signing, unfortunately. But
the Dodgers last year, basically at the end of the season, said, "Yeah, no." Yeah,
well, he had an interesting strategy in series against the Brewers, where he just decided to not catch the ball when it was pitched.
And the Brewers were so impressed by it, they signed him. Hey, remember that guy that couldn't keep the ball away from the backstop? Let's get him. But it's a 1-year. It's no risk. It's a 1-year contract. Yep. If it doesn't work, you could see why they did it. I just can't. I wouldn't hold out a lot of hope if I were Brewer fans that was going to make a big difference. So, the biggest thing, the Cubs, for the first time since we knew they were good in 2015, this does seem like a team that could really go tits up and have an awful year. I don't think it's going to happen, but you could see how it could happen. Everybody except for Kyle Hendricks is on the wrong side of 30 in the starting rotation. The bullpen is already kind of a mess, and they haven't even left Arizona yet. So I think Kyle's frozen right in the middle of my astute comment about the team. So anyway, I will carry it for a minute here, and then we'll see if Kyle can reconnect. I guess my biggest fear is that at some point we look up and Mike Montgomery's back in the rotation again, and oh, God forbid they're giving starts to Tyler Chatwood again. I think if they can somehow avoid that, they can easily win enough games to win the division again. So we're going to have to take a little break here for a second because technology has failed us. Oh, there he is. He's back. I don't have to take a break. Can you hear me now? No? It's kind of fun to watch him. Oh, you guys can't see it. I wonder if I can switch to him. He's actually on his phone. There he is. Yeah, you're back.
God. Did I freeze or did you freeze?
I hope you froze only because mine's the one that's recording it, and we'll have a lot of dead air if we don't, but I can,
Yep.
I guess America can tell us if I froze or not.
I'm wired in, so it'd be odd if I froze, but maybe I did. Anyway, that was riveting.
All right. Well, anyway, we're back. All I was saying was that I feel like this is the first year since Joe's been here that things could go bad and the Cubs could be bad. I don't think that they will, but the pitching is a little more tenuous than we want. And that's a big part of that is because they haven't developed any pitchers.
No, which I mean, Theo's spoken about that. They made that decision 5 years ago that it was going to be primarily bats, specifically from the college ranks in the draft. So they're reaping the benefits of it on the offensive side and seeing the costs on the pitching side of things.
But doesn't it seem like you could have accidentally drafted one?
Yeah, you could fucking go on.
Like they did.
They found the David Bodie of starting pitching or something.
Well, unfortunately, they may have a lot of the David Bodies.
It's very.
That might actually be their problem. That could
be the problem.
Yeah, we got a pitching staff full of David Bodies. So I was very interested in the launch of the Cub YouTube channel a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
because it's kind of them selling, hey, this is what CubNet is going to look like, and I was astonished by how much of it was bad.
Yeah.
Like one thing you think you couldn't screw up is a cute little kid, literally a basket of puppies, and Javi Baez. And that couldn't have been more unwatchable. It was just, you felt horrible. I felt bad for the puppies. All of it was terrible. And then I don't know if you've seen any of it, but they have their PA announcer, Andrew Bellinson, interviewing former Cubs.
Oh, I haven't seen those.
And it's Rick Sutcliffe and Jody Davis. I'm trying to think of the ones I watched, and there's a couple more. I haven't seen the great John Lieber one because there's a ball of fire. It's not good. So I'm a little. You think about it, they had like months to put that content together, and they do realize, right, that when they start the network, that they got to do like 10 times that every freaking day. I obviously love games, and they'll have Cap and Ryan Dempster's little puppet show or whatever they're going to do.
God.
But it was a little scary.
I guess now we know what all the those Cubs production videos they would put on Facebook every once in a while the past couple of years. I guess now we know what the backdrop of those always was. Getting ready for the
that's right.
The YouTube channel and the Jason Marquis network.
That I can't believe I can't believe they named it Marquis. I mean, talk about
it's still the Cubs.
Talk about just being too clever for yourself.
Yep.
Hey, let's name it after the big red sign that is nailed at the side of the stadium. Oh, it's brilliant. And I actually kind of knew that was going to happen because they had created about a year ago a marketing and events firm called Marquis something.
Mm.
And so when I saw that, I thought, oh God, that's what they're going to name the network. And that's exactly what they named the network. And wow. So I don't know who's pitching for the Red Sox. I shouldn't do play-by-play, but whoever's pitching for the Red Sox, it's Rick Porcello. Wilson Contreras just hit a ball that ended up at the center fielder that bounced off Rick Porcello's head. He's up and he's talking, but that was a little scary.
It seems less than ideal.
Speaking of Wilson, there's one of the new videos they have is they're doing that like at home thing where they went to.
I watched that one today, actually.
So it's him and Victor Martinez on a horse. Like, really? I did think it was, and him inexplicably on a roller coaster.
Yeah, you got roller coaster, Victor Martinez, and horses. That was covered the whole range of human endeavor, I guess.
At least the roller coaster part, though, they did get some cool point of view footage of the roller coaster. So I was impressed with that. Yeah. But I kept waiting for it to get. I was like, okay, when are we going to get to the good stuff? And we didn't really get to there wasn't any good stuff to be gotten.
Yeah.
So you did a little research?
I did do some research.
At least somebody did something to prepare for this.
Well, in my boredom at work, every once in a while, I like to head over to Fangraphs. And my project the last couple of weeks has been ballparking just some over-unders on their WAR totals by position group, by team. I've come up with a couple ones that I think are noteworthy. Let me get them up here. I would pull them up on my computer, but I'm afraid it'll explode again.
Don't want any exploding computers.
No.
Let's check on Mike. Let's see how. Yep. How's he doing? He's still asleep. The other thing I loved about it is, and I don't know, maybe he's got another reason to be in Texas, but they're going down there. They left on Sunday, and he couldn't get a ticket for opening day.
Yeah,
so he can't. He's not going to a game until Saturday. But
I would love to see the people snatching up Texas Rangers 2019 opening day tickets like that, and selling out the stadium.
I think this is the last year.
Isn't it a relatively new ballpark, though?
I mean, they just built it. Well, let's see. They built it when George W. Bush was their part owner. And so that was obviously before he was president. And he was president in, God, I have to do math, 2000. So let's say it could barely be 20 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
I know. Well,
and they're building a new one right next door.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, we got. I think my Kyle's WAR totals, my riveting segment. I have found from the Cubs' perspective, the two most interesting ones are up the middle with second and short. So they have 2.9 WAR out of second baseman for the Cubs this year, and 3.8 WAR out of shortstop. And I think that, well, obviously it's entirely dependent on how much time Javi plays at each position, but I thought it was odd that they have Addison Russell slated for 1.7 wins in his 371 projected plate appearances, which seems quite lofty.
So they're thinking he's going to start more than 100 games.
Yeah, they have it pretty much split with a slight.
Even though he's going to miss the first at least 30.
Yeah, so that one makes little sense.
So did they actually show how they broke Javi's up, or you see the total for Javi, you see the total for Russell, you see the total for Zobrist?
Yeah, you see the total by position and the number of plate appearances each guy gets at each position. So they have Javi with 322 plate appearances at second and 350 at short. So, and then Zobrist with 210 plate appearances at second, and then Russell with 371 at short. So relatively even amongst the three of them, except a little light for Zobrist at second. But I think 3.8 at shortstop's a little bit lofty, especially in the majority of the innings. But
yeah, I mean, even if you could guarantee me he was going to play 110 games at short, which I don't think he's going to.
No,
he's been pretty bad the last 2 years. And I don't know what you would get in a projection that you would think he would be markedly better this year. I mean, he could be. I mean, he's young and he's certainly talented, but he's been crap. Seems like he's been regressing in all phases of his life for the last 2 years. And it jumped out at me over the winter when I was rewatching, because I have nothing better to do, rewatching World Series games and highlights from the Dodger series and stuff. We remember that he struggled so much at the beginning of that Dodger series.
Yeah.
But from game 4 on, he was a huge reason why they won the World Series. I mean, they wouldn't have won. He drove in 9 runs in the World Series. I mean, it helped to hit a grand slam, and he also hit a ball to Tyler Naquin and Lonnie Chisenhall played, I got it, you take it. But still, I mean, he was really good, and they were obviously counting on him as the youngest player on that team actually getting better. That was a big part of their projection as to how things were going to go. And he
seems reasonable,
and he got a lot worse. And he could play well and then do something stupid and end up gone. So I don't know. And it's just, the whole thing is just icky to think, well, I hope he has a good year. I mean, you don't want him to be terrible, but you also, he's a scumbag.
So the second base question, they have the Cubs pegged at 2.9 and the Brewers at 3.0 on the 3 on the dot for wins out of their second baseman. And they have Mike Moustakas taking 560 plate appearances at second base. So I don't care what the split is with Javi. I would love to see how Moustakas outwars the Cubs second baseman playing an entire season of second base.
I would be shocked if he gets 500 plate appearances at second base. I mean, that's a real commitment to, we don't want to catch the ball on that side of the infield. And I don't even know if even the Brewers can stomach that. Plus, isn't their best prospect is a second baseman, right? So at some point you would think, and I would think that, Moose trying to play second base is, he's going to hurt himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't imagine he's going to be real smooth around the bag. And if he doesn't just yank his hammies off trying to chase a ball out into shallow right field. So I was going to ask you who else how they were splitting those at bats up. They can't be splitting them up too much if they've given him.
Yeah, they have Moustakas with 560, Hernan Perez getting 56, and we can only hope it's almost triple. That would be amazing if he plays that much. Travis Shaw with 21, Cody Spangenberg. I can't wait to see him.
Yeah.
I can't wait for him to his first call up when he starts 7 for 12 with 5 home runs. The Eric Sogard reincarnation. But according to Fangraphs, apparently has them relying almost exclusively on the Moose at 2. So we'll see how that works out.
What do they have for Yelich?
Let's scroll down here.
Nothing, just WAR on request.
4.9 in right and 3.0 in center for a total of 5.2 WAR, which would be another whatever it was he just dropped, but more than serviceable and another all-star caliber MVP candidate.
Yeah, I'm interested in how a lot of it will be determined by, well, it always gets determined by injury and other things, but the Cubs have to figure out, Joe has to balance Zobrist between second base and presumably right field.
Yep.
And Hayward in right and some center. Especially with Hap gone, I would guess there's going to be tough right-handed pitchers that you end up with Hayward instead of Almora. And then you've got Descalso, and somehow you got to juggle all that, although it also could be 3 of those guys could be awful. And it's like, what all of a sudden you're like, well, we have to give it back. Somebody's got a bat. They won't let us skip guys. So that could be.
How about if Chris Bryant just continues his scorched earth offseason and just comes out and posts a 960 OPS with 35 bombs?
Yeah. I'm counting on that.
I am too.
The other thing I'm counting on is, people look at Javi's numbers like, well, he can't do that again because, why can't he? I mean, he's Javi. the laws of normal baseball don't really apply to him.
No.
and the way he produced last year was not antithetical to the way he always plays. It's not like he, it's not like he didn't get a bunch of lucky hits. The fact that he doesn't walk, it's not so much because he does swing wildly at pitches, but he hits a lot of balls that pitchers are trying to throw for a ball that obviously I can get that. And he just hits it hard. I don't see that that's going to change. He's not going to, I doubt he's going to finish second in the MVP voting again, but I don't think that was like, oh my God, remember that 1 year Javi had?
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the case. I think he's just really good. So, and then it'd be nice if Rizzo gets a few hits in the first month.
Yep, that'd be good. What was it last year? He was at like $160 through. He was on the DL, wasn't he? Or was that 2 years ago? He hurt his back in Miami, I think. Like right away, he hurt himself. That's when we got oh crap! I know who you're thinking.
I'd love to make fun of him, and I can't think of his
the one random start.
Efrain Navarro.
Yeah, there it is.
We got the great Efrain Navarro. Who, the thing I will always remember about Efrain is in that ridiculous comeback against the Braves on that horrible day. It was like the 7th inning when they scored 11 runs or whatever. He made 2 of the outs. So but he's doing a service. If Efrain doesn't make outs, they're still playing that one game.
Probably.
And the whole rest of the season gets held up because the Cubs are still batting. And that somebody's got to make the outs. So thank you, Efrain.
Thank you, Efrain.
I don't know what Dairy Queen he's working at these days, but I hope he's.
Well, maybe if he's at the one in Des Moines and Hap can go pay after opening night or something.
I just well, and the thing I wrote today, I felt this way 2 years ago when Schwarber was struggling, was that I felt like the Cubs were, people were like, oh, they can't send him down, what will it do to his confidence? And I felt like by not sending him down when he was clearly struggling, you were making the inevitable moment when you had to send it down feel like a complete failure for him. It's like it shouldn't be that big of a deal to take a young player and go, you're struggling right now, we're going to send you to Iowa, get you some at bats, get back in a groove, we'll bring you back. They do it with pitchers all the time, but the Cubs don't do that with their position players. And so, I mean, Hap's 24 years old.
Yeah, he should be in AAA.
He didn't spend, neither him or Schwarber probably spent enough time there the first time. Yeah. So it really shouldn't be that big of a deal that he's being sent back. I mean, now if you're the player, you don't want the player to like that. You want him to be pissed.
Right.
But you don't want him to feel like, oh my God, is my career over? They've given up on me, when clearly they haven't. But I've never quite understood the psychology behind, no. He's got to stay up here. It just, some of it may be, if we send him down, who the hell are we going to play?
Yeah. Well, did you see your postseason hero from 2 seasons ago, I believe, is back on the market, right? Leon is.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's too bad. He almost died last year.
I remember that. Yeah, Jesus.
But so the Indians gave up on Leon. Well, there you go. The Cubs need an outfielder, and Leon is available. Well, there you go. I would love that. Just for the Cardinal games. You can take him there and go. Remember when Leon jumped over the wall and caught the ball and you got eliminated from the playoffs? That was pretty good.
That was beautiful.
All right. So when we ran through the Central, who do you think the most likely, like, National League, who do you think the most likely National League playoff teams are? I'm just interested to see if.
I guess west to east, Dodgers, Cubs. God, the East is tough though. Damn. I'd honestly go Atlanta. I'd go Atlanta, Washington, Philly out east in that order, to be honest. Maybe I'm just reeling from the Bryce Harper saga, but I don't know. I don't think they're all the way there yet.
Okay, so you've got Dodgers, Cubs, Braves, and then so who are your 2 wild card teams then?
I'll go Cardinals, Nationals.
So you picked the exact. Well, we'll see if I did this right. Here's a little insight. So last year, the Athletics, John Greenberg sent all of us like a Google document to fill out all of our predictions for the season. And like in my real job, when I get a Google document, that means fill it out in the Google document and then just hit submit. And then everybody does that and everything lives there. So that's what I did. Well, I was the only one who did that. So my picks didn't get counted and I wasn't in the article. So this year I made all my picks in the thing and copied and sent it to him and said, here it is. So we'll see if they actually make it in, because that's the exact National League playoffs that I picked.
Yeah, great minds.
And the one I waffled on was, what should it be? I mean, obviously some combination of Cardinals, Brewers, Nats, Phillies.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I just don't, the Phillies they're better, but I just don't think they're that good. And I really do, as much as I loathe the Cardinals, I do think they're better than the Brewers. So I
do too.
So I picked that. All right. So we didn't have to pick the American League, so I will pick them. Well, I'll go first with the American League.
Yeah.
You can go. So let's see. So west to east. Oh, it's the Astros. That's not a real difficult one. The Astros and the Indians, and I would still take the Red Sox over the Yankees. I do think they're both really good, but I would take the Red Sox over there. So then my wild card teams would be the Yankees and, oh God, this is where it gets a little mushy.
That pretty much sums up the American League right there. The Yankees and then, oh God.
Yeah. Well, that's why last year they're like, look at all the good teams that are in the American League because they all win 100 games, or they've got these teams win 100 games. Yes, because you have a whole bunch of teams that can't. They can't win 60. So the wins have to go somewhere. That's how the math works.
And then the Rays just take all of them and win 90 or whatever they ended up at.
So I guess it's the Twins or the Rays. And I will take the Rays because I'm a moron. Okay. Well, so it's 3 teams out of the East, which almost happened last year. The Astros clipped them, or the A's clipped them, and then had the most ridiculous, well, let's bullpen the wild card game. This we could make it completely unwatchable. Thanks a lot, Bob Melvin. All right, so who do you got in the American League?
I chopped up again there for a second. God. Astros, obviously, the Indians could win that division with their eyes closed for half of the season. I don't understand. That was probably one of the things I understood least this offseason was why they would consider moving some of their assets, which I get like selling off when you think your window's closed, but I don't know how the hell they have a free division title for as long as the White Sox stay missing on every free agent and as long as the Twins stay mediocre and as long as the Tigers are still paying gobs of money to Miguel Cabrera and the Indians, that feels way too obvious. And then Red Sox over Yanks, and then Yankees A's in the wild card. A's again. Well, did they re-sign Edwin Jackson? I think that's the question.
That's true. He'll be available. I was distracted. Rick Porcello just hit Chris Bryant with a pitch.
Oh, jeez.
Well, it was about a 49-mile-an-hour curveball. Yeah. So I think Chris is okay. By the way, Cole Hamels gave up a home run.
Oh God,
to Andrew Benintendi, and then Cole Hamels hit a home run.
Ooh,
so, yeah. The Cubs. He made DH in Texas.
I don't see why not.
What was I going to say? Crap. That's nice. I managed to distract myself by looking up at the Cub game. I was going to say the Twins. I can never get a good handle on the Twins.
No.
But Byron Buxton had a great spring.
Did he?
So I mean, this is the year for Buck.
The fourth consecutive.
He's had 3 good months in his career, and they were all together at least. But he's had 3 good months.
There was a part of me that wouldn't have hated seeing the Sox land a Machado to at least get them on Cubs fans' radar again, and because I mean that's kind of been the one thing this run of contention's been missing. Like we've had the Cardinals, Brewers, everyone else in the Sox have. Well, I guess they started 2016 hot, and there was 2 weeks worth of Red Line World Series talk, and then they traded for James Shields.
They didn't just trade for James Shields; they traded Fernando Tatis Jr. for James Shields, which then meant they had to give Tim Anderson a big contract because they needed a shortstop, and he's not going to stick at shortstop. And I don't know. I have Sox fan friends, and I like to remind them that at some point one of these rebuilds isn't going to work,
right?
And it's probably going to be yours.
Probably going to be theirs.
So congratulations.
Well, half their pitching prospects have already had Tommy John disease. And
yep. Well, it's contagious.
It is contagious.
So once somebody gets it, I mean, look out. They should have quarantined Kopech. They apparently let him get too close to Dane Dunning. And yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the White Sox were so bad the last couple of years that you didn't have to listen to people talk about them.
Yeah.
And you could just focus on the Cubs because it's as skewed as it is, it's a 2-team town. And so when the Sox start to get good again, or, okay, when you tune in the radio, there's a 50-50 shot they're actually going to be talking about them instead of the Cubs. And I really don't need that. I only listen to a small amount of sports talk radio, and I don't want it wasted on the White Sox. But
I do enjoy the given the current power structure of the teams. Obviously, I don't know if they're going to do it this year, but last year ESPN 1000 would do their White Sox minute every hour on the hour.
Well, a minute was about as much as you needed. So, really going to miss Hawk, though.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
God.
Jesus.
What the hell is he going to do all summer?
He can invent the batting. He can invent the batting glove again.
No. Well.
I love that he thinks he did that. It's like, no, he didn't invent the golf glove and he didn't invent the batting glove. And just knock it off, you corn-pwned dumbass. Okay, so let's wrap this up. We did our picks. Do you have a World Series that you want to predict?
Well, I think we're seeing a predict on Nesson tonight over on Andy's illegal stream here. If we want to,
yes, I would turn the computer slightly, and you could actually see. For some reason, Jerry Remy has a navy blue suit and brown shoes, which is that's not a good look, Jerry. But I'm not going to because I don't want to be banned from the interwebs. But yes, I've been distractingly watching the Cubs and Red Sox over my shoulder. So you think it's the Theo Epstein Bowl? We finally get the inevitable clash of the Cubs and Red Sox, the World Series that should have been in 2003, but for two of the most soul-sucking series losses of all time on back-to-back nights. I think it's going to be the Cubs and the Astros.
Which would also be fun.
For whatever reason, it's so hard to repeat, even though the Red Sox are really good. And I think the Astros are really good. So yeah. I think the Astros will get them. And I think that I don't know if the Cubs would win that.
No, yeah.
So, but I still think I'm still reminded, like during the offseason when they didn't sign people and I would get pissed off, I would think to myself, if they had actually blown Game 7 in Cleveland, what an unbearable fucking world this would be to live in, given the way that the last couple of years have happened. And it's just so much easier to let this stuff kind of like wash off because we actually saw them win a World Series. But it's also ridiculous to try to pick the winner of a series in October/November in March.
In March, yeah.
So I might as well just pick the Cubs, but I think
why not?
I'll pick the Astros so I can be wrong, and then the Cubs will win another World Series.
I can get behind that theory.
So I probably should have done this at the beginning because there's probably nobody still listening. But so the basic plan for this podcast is we get Mike back here eventually, probably next week. And we're going to do this far more regularly, maybe weekly. That would be nice. We're also going to try to rope some of my Chicago media friends into joining us from time to time. So I just think it could be, pretty interesting. I think this is going to be a very interesting season for better or worse. I think for better, but there is the possibility that we can spend the whole summer just bitching about everything. I don't think that's going to happen, but it might. So you can We're going to do it this way most of the time, so you can watch us live, which I'm sure is excruciating, or you can just subscribe to the podcast, and then miraculously iTunes or Stitcher or whoever else will just shove it onto your phone whenever we finish it. So anyway, we got one of the books. Nice job. We'll see how much of it actually, see which one of us dropped out in the middle.
I'm curious.
I kept talking, babbling mostly, but I kept talking.
That's
so
good.
At least there wouldn't be dead air. But anyway, it's good to have you aboard, Kyle.
Yep, absolutely.
And yes, you did get your job just because you kept tweeting at us. And
yeah, literally.
We're like, fine, let the kid come on.
I will say I've had one face-to-face meeting with Mike in spring training. It must have been 6 years ago now. I must have been in high school. I wasn't in college yet. But now that I live in the city, I'm hoping to catch an old style with him at Nisei after a game at some point. So we'll have to get that straightened out.
So now, this is basically just you and I using this as a phone now. Did I tell you that when you were, because you went to business school at the University of Wisconsin, right?
Yep.
While you were still a student there, I interviewed to be the marketing director for the business school.
Did you really?
Yes. And they didn't hire me. They hired somebody else. Right. But we could have hung out in the, what is it? The Granger? Is that your sponsors?
Yep.
Yep. So that would have been interesting. Anyway, so we will wrap this up. Thanks for joining us, and it'll be interesting to see if we ever get paired with actual sponsors. And I can't imagine who would want us to advertise their products, but we're more than happy to do it. And if you own, like if you're the guys from Victory Auto Wreckers and you need us to read an ad, I think the Benkowski Sports Spectacular, I would do those ads for free, Pat. So just let me know. We'll see if we work any of those in as we go. So anyway, thanks, and keep joining us all season, and go Cubs.
Go Cubs.